Hello and welcome to a brand new monthly show, the Arsenal Roundtable Discussion. I'm your host Giles, and joining me today will be Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV, Amanda from the Gooner Girls podcast, we've got Andrew from the Bergkamp Wonderland, we've also got Tim Payton from the Arsenal Supporters Trust, and journalist Julian from Hayters. Alright, so let's get started. The transfer window has been rounded up. The Premier League spent £835 million in the transfer window, of which Arsenal had a net spend of 46 million. How would you assess the transfer window from Arsenal's point of view? I'm going to start with you, Tim.
I think it's a good transfer window, but it could have been a stunning transfer window, just not quite using all the resources available to strengthen the team. But the players that went out were replaced. We signed a world star in Sanchez, and it's all looking good. Probably the Achilles heel, when I use that partly because of Koscielny's problem, is going to be just having 6 defenders covering the 4 positions. And it's the same old frustration with Arsenal. Close a window, nearly £50 million spare still in the bank, and not that player got in to strengthen the defensive side of the team. Overall a good window. I give it 7 out of 10. I think it's probably a squad that can come 3rd or 4th in the Premier League, and I'm optimistic there's going to be a better than usual Champions League run by Arsenal this season.
Robbie, how would you assess?
I think I'd have to agree with a lot of what Tim said. I think good window, started off really well, getting Alexis Sanchez, great signing. I think Debuchy's been excellent. Chambers, great signing as well. Ospina, we haven't seen him yet, but I think that's a Colombian international good signing again. And then the Welbeck thing, good signing as well. We needed that pace, and he brings that to the team. But as Tim said, we as a defensive midfielder and also a defender, why didn't we get that done? And it's just very frustrating that we didn't.
Julian, where do you see? Where would you say we strengthened well, and where would you say there's still deficiencies?
Well, strengthened well, Sanchez is a fantastic signing. I mean, Arsenal tried to do the business early, and the business that they did do was very good, bringing in replacements. I mean, Sanya left, and then Debuchy came in, Ospina, Fabianski. So what they did well was doing that very quickly. But as you say, there are clear weaknesses in the club's defence. Are there that many top-class central defenders and defensive midfielders out there at the moment? The opinion, certainly of Arsenal staff that went to the World Cup, is that it's actually quite a poor area just generally for talent worldwide. I mean, look at Manchester United. I mean, their need for central defenders is obvious, and they really haven't been able to strengthen that part of the team. So, although there was business that wasn't done that should have been, and certainly there should be another centre-back, because, I mean, Arsenal are 2 injuries away from playing, I don't know, maybe Chambers and Monreal at centre-back. Which is less than ideal. Is the talent out there? I mean, I think surely you can find a 4th choice centre back, but Wenger decided not.
That's the point. We're not talking about needing to sign world class and it absolutely having to be right. We just need a body in. We're talking about cover at central defender. Are they better than bringing in Hayden to play a game? That's the requirement. And there were lots and lots of players out there. This idea that there's nobody out there is wrong. It's actually a failure somewhere in Arsenal's scouting system and decisiveness by Arsene Wenger and the team to get someone, isn't it? We don't expect world class to cover for central defender, but we expect someone to be in there. Central defenders pick up injuries, they pick up yellow and red cards. There will be games when we're too short and there's not enough players in there, and it's really frustrating, and Arsenal have done it again. They're just not quite brought the squad up to a position to compete, and no longer will the excuse of but the other clubs have got more money count, because everybody knows Arsenal have got the money as well and they didn't use it.
Amanda, would you say that Arsenal were right not to go for Socrates? Apparently there's rumours that Arsenal bid 19 million euros. Dortmund wanted 24 million euros. Do you agree with the guys' general assumption that we don't need a world-class defender, we just need another body?
Oh, absolutely. I don't normally agree with him, but everything is, I don't have to say much. And to say that there's no one defender in the whole world that we couldn't have brought in, there must be defenders that not world-class. They're not going to come and sit on the bench, we know that. But look at Koscielny at Leicester, injured, and his Achilles isn't great. So we're playing City Saturday week. You fancy Monreal? Well, I'm to the point where I gave the transfer window 5.5 because that's how I felt. Because the most important thing was that defensive midfielder. That was that Arteta that knew what we needed, and the defence. I mean, 6 players for 4 positions through a whole season, and we're in the Champions League. We're in the FA Cup. We're going for the league.
And as you just said, the difference on the Dortmund defender that they wanted, the difference that we wouldn't pay, or it was said we wouldn't pay, is €5 million or £4 million. That's one place in the Premier League in prize money. That's one round in the Champions League, and you earn much more than that. It's a fool's economy.
Yeah, but
it's a fool's economy not to spend that extra
Tim,
€5
we don't
million
know. It's
when
rumours.
you've got the risk.
It's
I know it's
rumours.
rumours, but I'm giving that.
Rumours.
I'm extrapolating that as a rumour
Is
out
he
into
that
how general
stupid for
behaviour.
£4 million?
But we had 50
He's
million
not.
quid. But why? So why hasn't it happened then, Amanda?
Because maybe he was never in for him, so we just don't know, do
Well,
we?
that's equally as damning, though, isn't it?
Well,
I'm
yeah.
just using the
I mean,
example.
I agree with
if
you.
If you don't strengthen for the sake of £2 or £3 million, given the resources you have in the bank, and what really irks me, and so many, 92% of the Arsenal Supporters Trust members were frustrated with that 3% ticket price increase. It raises 2.6 million, and we said to Ivan Gazidis, if you guarantee us it will be spent on strengthening the team, it certainly helps. Will you guarantee it's strengthened? Because we thought it very unlikely, and of course it hasn't been used, has it? Will they be refunding it? No, they won't.
They'll be increasing it this year.
Andrew, apparently Mario Yepes is on the market. He's a free agent. We could go in for him. He'd be a body.
He would be. He'd be a very old body.
But Steve Bold could come and play.
You could play Amanda. I think you're younger than him.
He's 38 now, isn't he?
He is 38.
I wish I was younger than that.
He had not a bad World Cup for Colombia. But I'd be extremely worried if we played Yepes next to Mertesacker, for example, against like a top-class striker.
Ouch.
I know a few years ago we brought in Sol Campbell on a free and we brought him back and he played a few games for us.
He's training at Coney at the moment.
Oh really? Maybe there's one. I know he was kind of beaten for pace by Bale, so at that point. But I don't know. Yepes wouldn't really be. Obviously the transfer window's gone now, so it would be kind of a last-minute mitigation against a potential disaster. We have to play Monreal and centre back or Hayden and centre back against a top-class striker. But realistically, the club really should have gone out during the transfer window for me and brought in a fourth-choice centre back or someone as well. Chambers has come in. He's 19. He's showing a lot of promise. He's a very very technically gifted player. He's very proficient on the ball. But sometimes you think his needs to learn how to develop his positional sense, and that will come with working with people like Steve Bold. So in the meantime, why don't we reduce the pressure of someone like Chambers? He's only 19, bringing someone with a bit more experience. So Chambers doesn't feel, he has to step up all the time to be that player. He needs to have that time to learn how to develop.
Yeah.
He's historically played
We
right
could
back as a
ruin him.
midfielder.
Chambers is almost the most important player in the squad now because he's actually better than they thought he was when they signed him. So he's now second choice right back, third choice centre back, option for defensive midfield, and he's played 25 senior games in his career, I think, almost all of them at right back, which is where he's not going to start if Debussy is fit. But the Dortmund away game, if Debussy's suspended, haven't been sent off, then Chambers will start there, which means if anything happens to Chambers or Mertesacker and Koscielny, then Monreal comes into centre back because Monreal is
Haven't
a
we got
fourth choice centre
Bellerin?
back.
Have we got Bellerin?
It is
Hayden?
clearly a fairly large flaw in the squad, to say the least.
What I can't understand is why.
I don't know,
Why,
Robbie. We all know.
we did
Everybody
it
knows.
In January, it was the same thing. We left ourselves short by not getting a striker, and we were lucky as well last year. Defensively, we had Sanya, who could kind of cover more.
Yeah.
But what is this now? All of a sudden,
If it happened in one
these
window,
players that cover multiple positions. Let's get the players in.
if it happened in one window, you could say maybe it's bad luck, but it's happened in a succession of windows. That's not bad luck, that's bad management. It's not actually being on top of the situation and addressing what you need to do. You leave it to the final day of the window, you run the risk that the club you're bidding to has its own need. Look at Schwarzer, where we tried to squeeze $1 million off the goalkeeper. Fulham's other goalkeeper got injured the week before, it didn't happen. Look at the last window with Barr, Chelsea, leading us up the garden path. Perhaps there was someone we wanted and that happened again. Leaving it to the final day, you're playing with too much fire for the club of Arsenal's position to run this risk. But time and again, it's not good enough.
Tim, sorry, can I just say something though? Do you think this is Wenger? Do you think this is the Board? Because I believe it's Wenger. I've always said this day one that he has too much power at this club. But when I talk to rival fans, they go, Wenger does not run that business.
I do think that ultimately this comes down to his decision-making processes. Now, the way of looking at this, you could say he's very thoughtful, he's very analytical, he takes a lot of consideration of the value of a player. You could also describe that as dithering. And, you talk to people inside Arsenal, he frequently changes his mind on the player he wants, read different scouting reports, consider how it works. And on the whole, he's got a very good record when he signs players. They do fit in. But if you do take too long to consider, you snooze, you lose. and unfortunately we lost in terms of the defensive positions this transfer window.
I think that's happened a lot.
Some of the defenders we've signed in recent years and transfer deadline day, players like Silvestre, Scalacci, Santos.
Actually, it's a good job on the Sunday.
The thing is, that happens with deadline day, doesn't it? Deadline day, you get what you get. It's like 2011 when Arsenal signed 5 players, and Arteta was fine, Mertesacker was good, but the rest of them were disasters, more or less. You get what you can.
Even in the Premier League, there's some good defenders. People like Winston Reid.
Winston Reid, personally, I think Winston Reid is the one that Arsenal should have gone for above all others. I think he's fantastic, and I think he would definitely move to Arsenal because the club's reasoning is that Mertesacker, obviously numbers 1 and 2, Chambers now 3rd. So they think, well, we're looking for a 4th choice centre back, and they looked over the stats over recent years. How many times has our 4th choice centre back played? Answer: not very much. And could you persuade somebody who's established, say for example, Ron Vlaar, could he be persuaded to leave Villa, where he's captain, to be 4th choice centre back at Arsenal? They thought probably not. I think someone like Winston Reid probably could be persuaded to come to Arsenal, and I think he would actually have been of the requisite standard as well.
Do you think we'll go back in the transfer market for a defender come January? Does anybody think we'll go for a defender?
They'll be expensive if we do, because Arsenal are overpowered.
I think we will. We'll be under pressure to do so, I think.
Well, the problem I think with that, we said that a couple of years ago. Vermaelen was injured, and then in January, Wenger said, "No, I'm not going to sign anyone. Vermaelen's going to be back in a month, maybe." He didn't come back to November, so I'm not sure with our injury track records and with the way in which we previously acted in January. I'm not sure whether that's that's a guarantee. So.
Get the Arsenal Fan TV app, available on Apple and Android now.